We're recording.
Sarah's
Here we
hottest
go.
take for 2026.
Oh my gosh. My hottest take for 2026 is I hate Google Meet so much. And
Oh,
I hate Google Slides. And that's it. And all of them have gotten worse. Like we had it. We had it. The middle of 2020. Zoom figured it out. It worked. Just everybody just used this one tiny little box. And then Zoom was like, well, let's mess it up for everyone and let's make it the worst thing that you've ever used. And then Google Meet was like, we exist still. You guys should use us and you're already paying for it. So we're like, okay, let's go use Google Meet. And Google Meet is like, it's raise your hand, raise your hand. I'm not trying to raise my hand. There's no emoji reacts. I can't save the chat. Oh my gosh. So that's my hot take.
There you go. Love to hear it.
Yeah,
Me loves Google
but it's
Slides.
great to be here. It's great to be here first thing in the morning with you.
Well, I appreciate that. And hey, listen, I'm a Google Workspace guy. Okay,
I am too.
I'll push it as much as possible.
I love Google Workspace. I love Gemini. I love Gmail. I love Drive. I love it. I love Docs. I love it all, except for the one little guy. Right.
Well, all right. Well, with that 2026 hot take out of the way. Welcome back, everybody, to another Grow Support conversation. It's been a little bit. I actually haven't had one of these conversations in a while, so I'm excited to be back and excited to talk with Sarah specifically about all the things that are happening in the world of community and AI and all of that today. We're going to be talking about creating human connection in a AI-centered world where everything is kind of evolved and revolved around that for the past few years. And before we dive into that, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself, where you're coming from?
I do, Neil. Thanks for having me. This is so fun to do something like this. My name's Sarah. I founded Elevate CX a long, long time ago. In fact, that was 15 years ago, something like that, October 2012. So almost. We focused primarily on creating a community and an event for people emerging into a new style of customer experience for the web specifically. And since then, the community's just grown and grown and grown. And now in the last couple of years, we've seen a big pivot away from large scale events to smaller scale events and obviously more online content and community. And I also shifted away. I now work for a company called Rebuy, which is a big SaaS app in the e-com space. So now I'm working with a lot of e-com leaders that are trying to make their customer experiences more curated, and we're helping with that. So yeah, it's a lot. I'm a community builder. I believe in real life, in-person events and connection and community, and online spaces being the conduit to that, not the opposite, right? Where we just try to only connect online. I'm an anti-only online connector. I should put that in my LinkedIn bio. That sounds really eloquent.
I like it. I think it's great. It's like the VP of hot takes, right?
There you go. Well, I'm not the VP of hot takes. That's Erica Clayton.
I know.
We should all know that I'm not going to take that away from her. But yeah, I am the anti-only online community person. Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll iterate a little bit on that one. Yeah.
I'm curious what you think is the biggest difference between an online, because you run both and you've done a lot of events in both in-person events and community building, as well as running Elevate CX online and Slack community as well. What do you think is the biggest differences between the two?
Oh, what's changed significantly in my whole career. I was born in the 1900s, so I've seen this from AOL chat rooms, like in 94 to now. And I think that's something that, our generation needs to be really thoughtful of and grateful of, that we are sort of like that last generation to understand the novelty of online spaces and online connection and online community. It was new and fresh and weird. And we experienced that when we were like tweens, right? In like junior high school. And then it became something that now is an embedded part of our life. And there's very few generations who can look at technology that way. Maybe our grandparents, who went from, being born without televisions and telephones to then that becoming ubiquitous. So I think that my feelings about online communities, online spaces versus in real life and in real life events has really shifted significantly to the point where we're in now. We are so immersed in this like conversation about AI. And what does AI mean? It's artificial, right? It's not real. It is in a real sense, but it's like, it doesn't inspire trust. It doesn't make you feel seen and known. I mean, maybe it can, it'll lead to psychosis, but it's not the same thing. AI is very, very flat. I feel like in-person meetings create a trust. Human beings inherently have trust for each other when they meet eye to eye, face to face, and see each other's flesh, right? And that's something that I think is always, we always have those moments where we've known somebody online and then we meet them in person and it changes the dynamic. It sometimes like pushes people into more trusted relationships with them, right? Salespeople are seeing that a lot now. It's like they can't just be a face in a LinkedIn message box because those aren't trustworthy. Whereas you go someplace and you meet up with someone at an event or you host a dinner and people are much more willing to get to know you when they see your face, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that one is better, one is worse, but I think that we have shifted the conversation around which one matters more, which one is going to lead to better relationships, what's going to inspire trust more. And that's definitely pulling people back into real life experiences and places, right? Having community online supplement that, but not replace it. And I think, we've also lived through that space 5-6 years ago where unintentionally we had to replace in-person meeting with online. We tried really hard, right? Discord took off. Everybody knows what that is. Everybody started, joining more Reddit communities or whatever it was, these spaces where they could try to find those connections. But we all know that that isn't sustainable. And I'm not going to say it's not real, but it's just not the same thing as people meeting face to face in person. So it's a long-winded answer, but I think that the truth of it is just that we're never going to get to a space where getting people together in real life is not valuable or isn't the most valuable, right? What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, I have been a part of online communities for a very, very, very long time. Just personally joining myself, and a lot of the activities that I was doing were primarily online growing up and as a part of
Right.
the way that we start to evolve. And now that I've joined a lot more professional communities, now that I'm much more in that phase of my life, where the professional communities are very different, where you actually want to make those connections that are much more real to build those professional relationships, where that can be much more impactful versus like online communities where you're primarily there for leisure or fun or those kinds of other types of connections. And it's very different being able to create a professional network online, where I actually attended my first Elevate CX in London last year, offline,
You
in
spoke at
person,
it too. It
which
was
was
so great.
great.
But see, that's an interesting thing in this topic is that you and I had never met in person before, but we
Yeah,
knew each other. And
exactly.
there was a trusted sense of that relationship, seeing your work online, you knowing who I was, knowing that, each of us is in the space with friends in common, right? That I felt that absolutely you should speak at this event. Maybe 10 years ago when I was starting out, when I was starting to put together Elevate for the first time and kind of coming up with a formula for it, I was more inclined to default to people I knew because I trusted them. I had this built-in relationship where
Yeah.
things have just shifted in that dynamic, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think that that's a more normal thing than it is only having people on stage or in the room that you've met before is very much we're not seeing that so much anymore, right?
And as an attendee, when I went and I actually met everybody who was there and attending, all the people who I had spoken with for, at this point, 3 years or so online,
Yeah.
actually getting to see them in person was less of like a, oh, hello, who are you? Let's meet. But it was more like it felt like going and seeing old friends who you'd already known for a really
Right.
long time, which I think makes that in-person event that much more valuable. because you're like, finally we get to meet. Oh, it's so
Right.
exciting! Like,
Right.
we made
And
it
everybody,
happen.
of course, always immediately is like, "You're so short to me," and I'm like, "Yeah," because like in a little box, I can have a big personality, but you see me in person, and I am like that high. So I forget that too. But it gives it gives a different dynamic to things. You know,
Oh
you
yeah,
get to see people hear their voices and without some weird filter, you know, or whatever. And I don't know. I think it's still thrilling to meet people for the first time that you've known
yeah.
online.
True, true, true. Which I think makes those events all the more better, and especially as you see this big shift towards people actually wanting to go back a little bit more towards
Yeah.
analog things, to disconnect a little bit because everyone is so persistently online 24/7
Yeah.
and things are happening that just, hey, we have this space where we're present together outside of all of the other things that are happening,
Yeah.
and also create a bit more of a focus on, hey, we're here to have that conversation, have that meeting and that experience together, rather than,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in a meeting with you and I'm getting pinged on Slack and I'm doing other things.
Oh,
And
totally. Like I think that the notification syndrome, like for some reason we for a while they were equating that with like people need me, I'm important, they like me. Every time I get a little heart or a ping or a thumbs up or a reply to my comment, it gave me a dopamine hit of inclusion. And I think we have fatigued that to the point where, you know, who has notifications on anymore, right? For like anything, who has a ringtone anymore? I remember this is so long. Again, I was born in the 1900s. This is a very long time ago, but I lived in Hong Kong when I was in college age is like 20 years ago. And one of the things that was really big was a big social status is you let your phone ring at the loudest tone that it can. You let it ring and ring and ring. And sometimes it was a real flex if like you just like looked at it and you let your phone ring and then the person would have to call back and it would ring again. So I remember being in like public or being on the train, the KCR in Hong Kong, and it was just this cacophony of rings because people were trying to like flex that status of like I'm needed, people want me, they want to access me. And cell phones had just given us that opportunity to take that out into public now. These days, what a nuisance to hear somebody's ringtone. Right? Like what an annoyance,
yeah,
what an
I'm like, wait, your
interruption.
phone's ringing? What's
Your
happening? It's on
phone's
silent,
ringing.
do not disturb
That is
24/7.
so embarrassing, dude, right? Like it's just totally the opposite. I think and this is someone speaking as like a very deeply American person in American culture all the time. We just go too hard, too fast, too soon, all in, right? And then it wears on us and then we're like, okay, I want the complete opposite of that now. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to get the same AI fatigue. We've been talking about this for 10 years nonstop about AI, 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 AI. And when all the Super Bowl commercials were AI companies, that's when you knew like we have jumped the shark on this. People are going to be, you know, just not into it. And obviously now there's so much more like political stuff wrapped up in AI and data centers and all this kind of stuff that I feel like we're at a different turning point how people are going to be experiencing online spaces with AI and all this kind of stuff and what it means. How many people do you know who are like, I want to make jam and like learn how to woodwork? Like get back to basics. I see it all the time as an events person. I'm pitched all the time on events that you should do or whatever. And it's like workshops where we craft and like get together and make something with our hands. What an incredible periscope that is into the human condition right now and possibly what we're going to see in the upcoming years, right? I don't know. I feel like people have conference fatigue where if you hear someone like, I want to go do an event, they immediately go to like this like 1,000-person giant convention, whatever. Mercer and Erica from Elevate with me were just at Shop Talk a couple weeks ago. And oh my gosh, the overwhelm of the people and the noise and the being sold to and where do you work and what do you do? And can I scan your badge? That's not the human connection people are seeking out these days anymore. And I know from myself from Elevate, like we've seen a consistent restructuring around these events. People want them to be smaller. People want, you know, they don't want 450 people in a room. They want 50 people for an afternoon. right? We don't want to do a 2-day thing anymore that costs me $100,000 to produce. They just want something like we did in London, where we go to this cool ping pong bar and like share some stories and get to know each other and then just hang out and have fun. So I don't know. I feel like, history is time is a flat circle. History is a cycle. We're getting back to those places where we really want to have deeper connections, and AI and the online spaces, I feel like flattens that quite a bit. It takes the spark out of it. Like you were saying, like it's just a totally different vibe when you meet people in person.
And the conferences are a whole different scale than these kinds of events where you really do
Mm,
get to sit and spend the time to actually talk with
yeah.
individuals rather than just, oh no, I need to go to that booth and that there and this thing
Oh,
and all
yeah.
over. And I think when you do go to those conferences as somebody who tries to speak and engage at them and also just be able to, enjoy part of it, I think there's a couple of things. That one, especially in the CX space where we're impacted very heavily by AI,
Yes.
just in terms of industry and the impact that it's having directly on us. The topics are saturated very fully with AI.
Yes.
You don't want to go to an event
Yes.
or a conference and just hear like all topics AI. It's the same thing that everybody talks about online, that you're forced to try to embrace and really build in your day-to-day roles as well. Like you want to go there to hear about people's experience where AI can't necessarily replace that, where it is their
Yeah.
experience and expertise in
Yes.
doing a particular thing as a practitioner. I think those are some ways that like conferences have become quite dull because it's the same things you
Yeah,
hear all the
I
time.
agree. It's funny you should say that because I remember that about your talk at Elevate London that was so good and precisely focused on like pain points, right? Not just pain points, but here's a problem, here's what I did to solve it. Here's how we figured out how to solve this. That human brain activity is being, or they're trying to replace it so much with like me outsourcing my problem solving to something like ChatGPT or Claude, right? Just whatever. Well, Claude and ChatGPT only know what I tell it, and they only know what the internet tells it, what they can access, right? Especially if these poor people are on a free plan. Like, good luck, good luck with that, right? So we're getting back into those spaces where, like you're saying, like I want to hear your experience. I don't work in HR. I've never worked in HR, but you've worked at this company that like that is what your ICP is. That's who your audience is. You're building for those people, right? It doesn't mean that there's no transferable wisdom there. There certainly is, because it's all about how did Neil's brain wrap itself around that problem, and then how did he work that out with his team? What was the solution, right? I always tell people like the best talks that you're going to see, the best conversations you're going to have ever are always going to be these toolbox talks where we talk about a problem, a bad problem, a big problem, or something that was just annoying. I show you how I fixed it. That way you now have those tools and skills to think about how like your brain can fix something similar down the line. Or the best part about it is it's validating for someone who's also had that problem, who's also like forgotten to check an inbox for 30 days, whatever, or like accidentally changed a Zendesk script that then just closed 5,000 emails instead of responding to them. We've all been there in some places in our lives. And as we continue to outsource decision making and problem solving and critical thinking to machine learning, we are going to stumble on new problems that we have to solve. We have to walk each other through. We have to sort of, tell people like, I made this mistake. You should, not be like me. But, I don't know. I feel like it's important for us to understand that technology has its benefits, but we can't just treat them like human beings here to solve our problems and do all our work for us, right?
Yeah.
And there is a huge loneliness epidemic, I think, at work for people who work remotely, who are distributed on global teams, who are using a lot of these replacement people for them, having full-on conversations with them, or like, asking them to get to know me so my work style, like that kind of thing. We can't just continue to replace real relationships, real conversations, real critical thinking. And that happens in conversations like this, I don't know. It's a wild world out there. And come of it. I don't know if we're going to burn all the data centers down and have to go back to using an abacus, but here we are trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think while there are a ton of negative side effects around the critical thinking, around just, hey, yeah, let's just throw it out there and it'll just give me all the thinking for me and I'm just going to do what it says and tap, tap, tap. And it's like then becomes a bit of a drone mentality versus, hey, I actually want to engage. I think that on the flip side of some of the negative impact that it's had on the community, I think it's also been a bit of a door opener for people who feel a high barrier to engage or reach out or do things in the community. It can help them figure out ways or mechanics or tactics to be able to better fill that space. Maybe it alleviates some of that pressure for them. Have you seen or heard any of those types of experiences in the communities that you've been in?
I will say, like, online communities should be primarily inclusive. And that was something that in 2020 we learned, like, anyone can start a community. Anyone can start a community in so many spaces these days. For God's sakes, you could have it on LinkedIn. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could have it on LinkedIn, right? Or you can, again, like, go to Discord or go to Reddit or find these spaces where if you are specifically, a one-handed blue-haired person, you have an opportunity to connect with other one-handed blue-haired people, right? And how great that is that you found each other. That is real and that is true and that is sustainable. However, wouldn't it be great then to, like, build confidence in your community, build confidence in those relationships, to now connect with people in real life without feeling weirdness or shame or that you're out on the fringes? That, I think, is one of the supremely great things about online communities and online connections. Comment sections, right? TikTok is so silly. I'm so obsessed with it still, whatever. But, like, you see a stark difference in, like, comment sections in TikTok versus something like Instagram, where Instagram is still kind of that weird, gross Facebook crowd. It can be more negative. It can be more just like finger pointing and picking people's appearance apart. Whereas you see the total opposite on something like TikTok. What's the difference between the two of them? Instagram is infinitely, like, perfected. People are using filters. They're following grid diagrams. They're learning, like, the algorithm, how it works. They're presenting this perfection of their, house tour, or their kids, or whatever it is. TikTok is messy and real and authentic. And we've seen over and over again in the past 6 years, influencer model that is dying. For brands and for regular people, I don't want to hear from the Kardashians about what skincare they're using, because I know they're getting paid to tell me they're using it and I know they're not using it, right? But this random housewife in Utah who is just herself online, I might trust her with what she's talking about, what she's saying. Obviously, there's good or bad things there, but I think that authenticity is such an important part of how we build communities, such an important part of how we engage with those communities online. Something like Elevate, Elevate has 9,000 people in it from around the world, all over the globe. And I find that, like, I get to sit back with this eagle eye view and watch how these interactions sort of take place, how they unfold in our channels, whether it's someone venting about their job search and people jumping in and saying, I just experienced this, here's what I would do, that kind of thing. That person doesn't have a place outside of that community to talk about his job search other than, I don't know, maybe LinkedIn again. Who wants to be there? Not me. So we're inspiring places of people, like, find your people, find your community, whatever it may be, but be consistent in it. Be yourself, be authentic. The reward is other people will mirror that behavior, right? If it's knowledge sharing, wisdom sharing, like the thing like your talk at Elevate, I swear someone came up to you at the after party and was like, I had a problem like that too. Thanks so much for sharing that, right? You have to say, like, that's what happens when you show up as yourself and you feel confident in yourself. But that confidence also, again, it comes from that collective dynamic. So yeah, another big answer for you. I clearly have a lot to say about this topic. It's very close to my heart.
I think that especially when you talk about community, it really comes down to one, being able to identify with the people who you are coming into the
Yeah.
room to meet, whether that's
Yeah.
online or offline. Like you need something to be able to identify with them, get that kind of reward or kind of giving back. So in this case, I go to an event, I speak, which is great because I identify with the people in the audience, and then somebody
Yeah.
comes up afterwards and they say, "Ah, that was great. This is my feeling of reward," and that's what kind of creates that cycle of belonging. When you feel included, you feel part of the conversation, and when people
Right.
actually just speak back to you. We always have this thing that we say in our community team, which is we just want the do-gooders to do more good. Like just
Yes.
get the people who are really the inclusive part of that to just try to make other people also feel included as they come into the community. And I think that's one of the biggest things that can help create that authenticity as well. If you have that collective, tight-knit group of people that are kind of bringing newcomers into that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important as a community manager, someone who's sort of like, king of the space, if you will, whatever, or patron of the space, maybe. You also can't direct that, and you can curate the room, you can curate who's in your community, you can curate the vibe, you can set the theme, but you can't be the one that's always leading the conversation. That's
Yeah.
super, super important. One of my favorite things over the past, gosh, yeah, however many years, 14, 15 years we've been having Elevate grow as a Slack community is I see when someone joins and I see when they buy a ticket to an event, register to an event, whatever. Sometimes people will reach out to me directly and introduce themselves, whatever. And then I see when that person posts for the first time. And I see the first time they jump into a conversation, right? Or the first time that they have I need help because does anybody have experience here? And they start making those connections. That first post is very difficult for most people. It's not
Yeah.
difficult for me. That's why I do what I do, because that comes easy to me. But for the majority of people, extroverted or not, that's really hard. That first sort of like dipping your toes into what this community is. And I think giving people the space to just do it without hand holding or without boundaries, or maybe like one of the reasons why we have so many channels in Slack too is so that people can find like a very smaller curated room, like I was saying, to like jump in and have those conversations. But it's not for me to post every single day, question of the day, and then just try to get people to artificially respond to it, right? And I think that that's something that just really strong communities see. Strong sustainable communities see a lot is that more and more new people feel comfortable off the bat to dive in and start talking and make those relationships, whereas more of the communities that struggle with maintaining that feeling,
Yeah.
which it is a feeling, right, that you feel when you open Slack or you go to this community. It's dominated by a leadership team or by strict rules about posting. Sometimes that's fine. That's what code of conducts are for. We're not talking about the obvious bad posts. But when people feel there's a rigidity to what they can participate in or what they're expected to participate in, I think that's when you see less and less participation at the end of the day. So we've tried to build a space where I am not the singular voice and I am not the singular person who owns it. That's been difficult, not difficult. I shouldn't say that. It's been a learning experience to kind of push away from me being the singular voice to saying like, there's so many other people here who can help you. And I think it's been good for us to Elevate the last couple of years to really flex that muscle and see people kind of step up. But the best part about it is we start to see more new people every single day. Someone is joining Elevate every single day. That's crazy to me because it's not like we're running commercials or like ads and, your Instagram feed to join Elevate. It means that the word of mouth is strong enough from our community members to say, I have the space where I go and I can ask people questions and they can give me answers. And I'm feeling like this is a professional community, good for my career development, but it touches something in my soul, something in my spirit that I also need it. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm very proud of Elevate. It's a constantly, like I always think about it, it's like this living, breathing thing. right? It's never gonna be just events. It's never gonna be just a Slack channel. It's never gonna be just this. It's always gonna continually evolve based on what our community needs and what our community is putting into it. Our community is putting into it, honestly, what they want from it. So you have to really lean into that and recognize it and be thoughtful about how you control it.
Yeah, I think when we look at it, we talk about quite often engagement versus orchestration. Like you can directly engage with things and just push
Yes.
all the things, but ultimately you're just going to get a one-to-one kind of experience there. Hey, somebody's going to answer a question, somebody's going to answer it, and there you go. But when we talk about orchestration, it's exactly what you mentioned. Like we're going to take a back seat, we're going to let members go do their thing. Hey, maybe tag somebody else who can come and help you, and then they start that relationship on their own.
That connection is, the human connection is so difficult to be something that you control, right? In like that space, you have to be confident that you can just step back and let people be together. I also think, maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think that people just want content. I don't think people want more content. I don't think people want just a wall of links and resources and roundups. You do that so well, like Connor Pendergrass does that so well. Stephanie Lundberg does that so well. I don't think everybody needs to do that. And I don't think that's what everybody's looking for. They really are looking for a way to feel a connection. And that you can't produce that, right? Like you're saying, like you can't just conjure that for people. So it's hard because I think when we talk about events, there's a way to look at it logistically. We talk about community, there's a way to look at it logistically. Numbers, like stats, all of that, right? Like impact, ROI. There's also unquantifiable ROI, right? There's a way to say like, okay, maybe I have 20,000 people in a Slack community, but if only 1% of those people are engaging on a daily basis, that's not a healthy community. I could have a 10,000 person event, huge, overwhelming, giant event that 10,000 people buy a ticket to and come to. But if they are sort of lost in a convention hall and they never have a chance to like sit and meet, and it's loud and like overstimulating, and they come home and they're just exhausted, that's not a signifier of a healthy event.
Yeah.
Right. So I think as we move into, what is AI done to us? What is it doing to us? Like, leave it at work. Let it be what it does. Let it work for you. Let it be an assistant, right? Not a replacement, but an assistant. But at the same time, I think we're going to see people seeking out more and more in-person connections, people they've met online in community spaces, smaller groups. They're going to start saying, instead of just having a Zoom meetup, let's try to do a real coffee meetup with people. Less big sponsored blowout events, if you will, and more just like getting people together, kind of, which is like,
we have a local group here in the Netherlands, and we just go out for lunch every once in a while. We're just like,
every
okay,
once in a while, whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
That we used to take that for granted so much, and now we're seeing that circling back to like, oh, that's actually necessary and it's important. It can be really powerful for people. So I think healthy communities will always boomerang back to us healthy in real life experiences. And again, like I said, you want people to mirror, your own behavior as like the community manager or whatever it will be. Encouraging people to talk in online spaces means encouraging them to show up to these events and being a good example to them and asking what it is they want to do, because some people are burnt out on executive dinners. I sure am, but like, it's just like so funny, but there's a developer conference that I'm building an ancillary event for in July. And this venue is terrible. There's nothing around this venue at all except parking lots and overpasses. It's awful. And so you have to think about like, how do I get someone from this hotel to come to my thing, knowing that they're burnt out and overstimulated and whatever? There's one restaurant near the venue that's walking distance. So what are we going to do? We're going to look into it. We've got to do it. It's medieval times.
Oh, sick. Let's go.
Exactly. Exactly. That is such a killer event for someone who's gone to a dev conference all day. They've been ping pong back and forth between content and this and code and AI and whatnot. It's a fun, just ridiculous sort of like have fun, don't be serious, get together. Everyone's going to have that. I call it collective effervescence. I talk about it a lot, how it's that overwhelming sense of like, we're all in this dumb, fun thing together. Right. Yeah, and so it's like weird. So now I'm in a place where I'm trying to convince my leadership team, like, no, people will go, people will show up. This looks dumb on paper, right? But this is what people are craving, is this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we have to just think more and more and more about that. We don't need the steak dinners. We need, no forks thing. It's like people are craving that. When I talked again about like that loneliness epidemic that is caused by how we work, we also need to restore some of the joy in meeting people and getting together. And I hate to sound trite, but a little bit of that childlike wonder, right?
Oh,
Go
yeah.
to a baseball game, do an activation where people are learning how to surf, or do a food tour in your city. Something like that, I think, is going to be more impactful because it puts people on the same level of exploration and excitement together versus 12 people go in a steakhouse event banquet hall and just sort of like, what do you do?
And then
What
they're
do
gonna talk
you
shop
do?
and network anyways.
And no one's gonna buy anything. No one's gonna buy anything at the end of the day, right? So I don't know. You gotta keep thinking out of the box. But as we've seen, like the status of our world right now is pushing us further and further and further into each other's arms in a way. Like we want to see each other in person, we want to do things, but it's got to be chill, it's got to be fun, it's got to be engaging. So I don't know, it's a constant pivot in this world, and hopefully I'm doing it well. I feel like I'm on the right side of history.
I think so. I think bringing the fun back into it is going to be a really big part of how we move things forward, just in
I
general.
agree.
I know we're a little bit over the time we had planned for, but I really, really appreciate the conversation. And I
Yeah,
do want to ask one last question
ask away.
for you. If there's one thing over the course of your career that you've learned, doesn't need to be professional
Mm.
or specifically, is there one thing that you still stick to today?
Yes, find your people and do something good for them. That is the big thing. Everybody hates the term networking, and we all know why. We all know why. It's a nebulous thing to put your finger on, but when I talked before about the feeling that you get, that's important. That's instinct. That's human instinct. That's stuff that drove us out of the caves to find fresh water. That instinct, that feeling. And it's what the danger instinct, that there's predators out there. We need to shelter ourselves. I think that finding your people is different from this idea of networking, which is, what do you do? Where do you work? Because that inherently is like, what can I get from you?
Yeah.
What is it that you can do for me?
There's
Who's
some
on
sort of
who?
goal to take.
Yeah, like what's your job title? Where do you work? And people like scanning your badge to gather that information. I think one of the best things you can always do is give out wisdom for free, information for free, be a listener without judging. I feel like I have curated like myself to be known as that person. And the more you can give to people, yes, it's going to deplete you a little bit, but you are building a community of people who will give back to you when you ask. So that's the most important thing. I always like when I have calls with people or meet people, I always like to end it with, what can I do for you? Is there anyone you're trying to meet? Is there anyone that you'd like to get in front of? My email signature is, let me know if you need anything. And it's been that way for 10 years. And I mean it, right? So I think it's really important to be known and to be seen as someone who is open to giving and open to helping. It will just, it'll make you feel better about the connections that you're making.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that's one of the things that drove me to follow the path that I have in the communities and the overall people as well. Like it was the encouragement that everybody gave by me sharing my experience and the things that I'd run into that then encourage them to also.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's ultimately why I do the things that I do. And I full-heartedly agree with you. I think if you just come at it with a genuine and what you mentioned before, authentic, showing up as yourself, then people will also reciprocate that, and it will be a much better experience for everybody.
I agree.
Thank you so much for joining me, Sarah. I really appreciate the conversation and your, I think, very interesting, somewhat hot takes on the the experience at hand. And
Hey,
it's
I'm
very
happy to be the
interesting.
person to say it first so that other people say, yeah, right? That's the only way we'll move it forward.
Indeed, it's really interesting to see how technology has shaped the human experience that we have today, and trying to find a blend and kind of get back to some of the things that I think people fell off from for a while.
Yeah, I think it's important. Humans are always going to crave connections. That's just what it is. That's in our DNA. It's in our bones, right? So do it well, do it honestly, do it authentically, and be that person who shows up in the room where people know they can trust you. People know that you're open to giving, open to receiving, but also just like there to help in any way you can.
Love to hear it. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate the conversation.
Of course.